Alrighty, so this is just We the People News. Not an attorney, not giving legal advice, my opinion only. However, I just never look straight forward. I always look around me, be able to protect myself by any means necessary, as shall you. Alright? Use that Second Amendment, arm yourself with knowledge. Speaking of, this video has to do with Second Amendment. But it's also educational out there to realize how the attorneys and the courts are violating your due process, finding you guilty before you went through the process. Now, we talked about this, about the DWI breathalyzing test, and people end up being innocent and still being charged and all that kind of stuff. A few video back now. What, about 5 or 6 videos back now? But how far would they go? Okay. Now, this guy did this about 3 weeks ago. I knew about this a while back. Again, I've been busy doing other things, and something else comes up, and I prioritize what's important to I, not to everyone else. So, but that being said, kind of follows in with the due process that we've been talking about, and how we need to actually start paying attention to these bar unions and how they are actually corrupting everything. And there's no sense fighting all these battles. It's plainly spoken in the Constitution, well, in writing, in law, at law, of law, and it's clearly readable for average men and women to read. How can judges not understand this? I don't know. All right, let's go. Sorry.
Well, Pam Bondi has a long history, and I'm going to be very adamant about being against this lady. She has a long history of being anti-gun, and quite frankly, when I listen to her speak on this topic, I wonder if she's not stupid. And not because she's a woman. Don't make this into, oh, it's misogyny.
But what about the rest of us? Just saying.
Oh, this is common sense. I wonder if she's stupid. I want you to see this clip right here where her and Donald Trump are sitting there, and this is what worries me, because Donald Trump knows he's not an attorney. He knows she is, and he knows that she is more well equipped to make decisions about laws and about guns than he is. So he leans on her. This is a conversation they had a few years back after Parkland, when her and at the time Governor Rick Scott were trying to push through anti-gun legislation. And let me be clear, don't be fooled by the words when you listen to this conversation between Trump and Pam Bondi. Let me be very clear. All red flag gun laws are unconstitutional whenever they do not include at every step, not a portion of the way, if they do not include due process every step of the way, whatever step they eliminate due process, that's unconstitutional. And Pam Bondi should know this. But I want to be super clear about this. All red flag gun laws are unconstitutional, and I don't care what you call it. You can create a new fancy name called a red flag confiscation, a red flag, well, in her case, she calls it a red flag restraining order. Oh, that sounds way better than a confiscation order, right? It literally does the exact same thing. Listen to this conversation between Bondi and Trump.
Bring in something called the Gun Violence Restraining Order. So if someone is civilly committed, and typically you can hold them for up to 72 hours, but people are getting out within 24 hours, the majority of them. So what we want to do is let law enforcement come in and take the guns.
Good.
They are a danger to themselves.
Which you can't do right.
Yeah, good. Okay. People, whether you're left or right, you got to think outside the box here. The left wants to confiscate your guns. Well, the right wants to confiscate your guns, and they're leaving it up to officers that's legal to lie to you. And on top of everything else, it's legal for them to lie on in court as well. So no matter what they do, they can lie to you and get by with it. And yet, we're supposed to bank on all these officers' interpretations that cannot give legal advice.
Well, they're because without being adjudicated. So because they're a danger to themselves.
You want them to take the guns and
when they are
not
committed.
go through 6 months of legal trials and everything.
Exactly. But we also have to give the mentally ill the due process in which they deserve, President. So what we're doing is they're going to be able to take the guns when they're taken into custody or into the hospital, and then when they're released within 24 hours or 72 hours later, typically it's 24 hours, but law enforcement will have 72 hours to determine whether they should give those guns back or they can go to a judge and say, Your Honor, please keep these guns. We feel this person is still a danger to himself or others.
So Bondi,
So even we're going to pause right there. Now the officer has a doctor's degree. He'd be able to actually pretend like he's a doctor and go to the judge and say, hey, we think he's a danger to himself and others because we are psychiatrists now. Due to our qualified immunity, and we are legal to lie to everybody, even to the judge, even to the attorneys, and even to the people out there. We are legal to lie to you and say, hey, we are legally allowed to be doctors now. Just saying. Think about these things, people.
is literally, by definition, explaining to Trump what a red flag illegal gun confiscation order would do, and then says, or at least claims, that it is constitutional and that it includes due process. Did you hear anywhere in that conversation where due process was involved? People she's talking about have not committed a crime. They have not committed a dangerous act. They have not committed any kind of violence against themselves or anybody else. This is a guess. This is an estimation. This is a maybe. So she is describing a situation where a person who has done nothing wrong or nothing dangerous can have their guns illegally taken from them, because if they've done nothing wrong and there has been no court to determine that they're guilty of something, removing their firearms from them is illegal. There is no two ways about that. There's not even like a confusion right there. I mean, you can't even take, well, maybe I didn't see her side. No. It's illegal. The person did nothing wrong. You chose to take their guns from them because you guessed, you had a hunch. So you took their guns from them based on a hunch, not a fact, a hunch. Then, while this person is in a hospital or whatever, like she's describing, remember, you've taken their guns from them. So at this point, they may not be in any real danger at this point because they're in the hospital. But whenever they go to get let out, because remember, you just deemed that this dangerous person was no longer a danger, so you're going to let them out on the street. However, they're just dangerous enough, in her words, where you can go to a judge and plead with the judge to, let him go home, but don't give him his guns back. Where's the due process? Was asking the judge if you can keep his guns illegally, was that the due process? Oh, we included a judge in the process. Really? You included a judge halfway through the process, and you still didn't give this man his day in court. You have to be able to face your accuser. That's not due process.
We're going to go ahead and end it right there to keep the video short and sweet. You want to check it out? Legally Armed America. Okay? Now, I'm going to actually to more the extreme because it's not lawful. He keeps speaking illegal. And he's a creature of habit on these words that attorneys throw around every single day. But it is not lawful, people, at all. It's not in the bounds of the constitutional authority to pass these statutes, these codes, rules, and regulations, because it's contradictory to, number one, the due process, number two, the Constitution. How can this be any clearer? Okay? The other thing is, more of anything else, for the people on the right, putting her as Attorney General. How in the hell is he going to drain the damn swamp when he's putting swamp right back inside? Does this make any sense to you? Jason Louis, The People News. Till next time, bye y'all.